Public hearing. Would the clerk please read the short title?
Yes, this public hearing is relative to the Syracuse Housing Strategy, a multi-year framework for improving housing condition in the city of Syracuse on behalf of MBD.
Thank you, clerk. First, some rules. If anybody wants to speak, look to our secretaries just outside the door here and sign in. He'll give you a card, and that card will get to me. I'm going to give everybody 3 minutes to talk. And so I'm going to, is there anybody here to speak in favor of the proposal? Please state your name and address. I got a Ben Lockwood.
Good evening. My name is Ben Lockwood. I'm the president and CEO of Housing Visions, as well as I sit on the board of University Neighborhood Preservation Association. I'd like to express my support for the adoption of the housing plan. I did participate in the planning process with the various members of the community. Fully admitting, not a perfect plan, but I've yet to see a perfect plan in my life for anything. I do believe my experience working with OOMPA, which is, I think, a good model for some of the chosen neighborhoods for the first phase, is a good, easy, well, maybe not easy, but a replicable model that can be done effectively in the neighborhoods that have been chosen. And I do want to stress that an important piece of the housing study is to ensure that the legacy neighborhoods that may not get the flash, that the infrastructure investment, code enforcement, and selective demolition are really adhered to. The neighbors and the residents in those neighborhoods that may not be first in line are deserving of that, and I think it's incredibly important to support those neighbors and that. So I do urge that the Common Council adopt the housing plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lockwood. The second card I have is to Rich Pachowski.
Rich Pachowski, Director of Syracuse United Neighbors, 45-year-old plus community organization active on the city's south and their west side neighborhoods. I want to call out the fact that rarely does the Common Council hold a public hearing, and I see 3 empty chairs. You know, we deserve to have our paid officials sit in those seats and hear what we have to say. I think it's deplorable that they got no excuse for being absent. What and who decides a public hearing? You know, I hear rumors on the southwest side that the Common Council's being a party with the mayor about cutting our public service, public works, picking up recyclables. I hear a talk about a public hearing about that cut in service, and I think it's terrible. You know, we're encouraged to recycle. There are people on my street that don't even have a blue bin. They don't recycle. Where does that trash go? The recyclables. So I think it's unfortunate that the council haven't scheduled a public hearing. You know, our housing strategy from Syracuse United near West Side, including Skunk City. We have a heck of a lot of vacant houses. They're all over. The numbers are way up, and they keep going up. Fire damaged properties. I think it's unfortunate that we have, for years, since 2017, a vacant house on Kennedy, 1108, that's been vacant. Fire damaged. Fire damage at 330 Hatch, corner of West Brighton and Hatch. I had to call on code enforcement to board up windows recently. But that's been vacant since 2017.
Mr. Pachowski, I know you have a lot of things there, materials.
Clerk.
Well, you can
And I hope you're
submit-
not like the last person that sat on the seat and rang the bell and kicked me out.
Rich, God bless you. But
So
you can retire
call
to
the
your
cops.
seat. Rich, you don't want to go there. Let's just hand over what you got written to us.
I'm speaking on behalf of 300-plus members.
I appreciate that, Mr. Pachowski, but we've been through this before. I think maybe if you just sit down and let the other people talk, and if there's time at the end, maybe I'll call you back up. How's
Well,
that?
you know, I know that in other hearings, people are allowed much more time, in some cases 5 minutes.
Rich,
Anyway,
come on.
what are
Rich.
the banks and credit unions doing in our community? They take our money, but they're not investing in these neighborhoods on the southwest side and the credit unions.
Mr. Pachowski, please, let us continue the public hearing, okay? I don't want to have to ask Mr. Come on. Councilor Nave, I think we can handle it here. Okay. Thank you. Come on, Rich. There we go. Okay. Okay, let's go. Miss Elizabeth Mannion. Elizabeth Mannion, signed up? Okay.
Take her time.
Janice McKenna.
Hi, my name is Janice McKenna. I live at 110 South Lowell Avenue, and I'm the president of the Tipperary Hill Neighborhood Association. We had the organizer of this program address our quarterly meeting in May, and the house was full. There's an awful lot of interest on Tipperary Hill on keeping our properties in good shape. And, you know, people aren't waiting. This is a 2025 program, but if you drive around Tipperary Hill right now, you'll see home improvement projects everywhere. People know we have to do today what we have to do today. We can't wait till tomorrow or the houses will be in worse shape. There are a lot of very old houses on Tipperary Hill. Mine was 1898, and it takes a great deal of money and commitment to keep them up. So when there are funds available to help us out, to help us take care of the properties the way we want to take care of them, it is a blessing. The first time this happened was back when Congressman Walsh was in office and we received Syracuse Neighborhood Initiative funding. The fact that there's no income restrictions on this program is also a plus. We are ready, and people are very excited about being able to continue to keep our neighborhood in good shape. It takes a lot of commitment, and we are committed. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Carrie Quaglia.
Good evening. I'm Kerry Quaglia. I'm the CEO and founder of Home Headquarters. We're at 625 Erie Boulevard West. And I participated in the Syracuse Housing Strategy and thought it was a great process, and I'm here to speak in favor of it. Certainly agree with the primary recommendations of the plan, as Home Headquarters deals with both issues of affordability and housing condition every single day of our lives. You know, we found it interesting that some of the more controversial parts of the plan, particularly those that call for assisting in neighborhoods that were maybe considered more stable neighborhoods, or helping people who are over 80% of the area median, today they're being called controversial, but in years past, they weren't controversial at all. For those of you, and Janice just mentioned the Syracuse Neighborhood Initiative, for those of you that were here during those times, we routinely helped people with incomes over 80% of median because there were no income limits associated with SNI, and it was a great program. Also, every year, there were millions of dollars committed to, like Janice's neighborhood in Tipperary Hill, or Court Woodlawn, the Valley, Eastwood, Strathmore, et cetera. In short, we got to do both, right? We've got to help those areas that are most distressed, and we've got to help those areas and people who just need a helping hand. Also, what's not well understood, and Rich Pachalski just brought up the issue of the banks and credit unions. Every year since S&I, Home Headquarters also assists in neighborhoods that are considered more stable and helps people that are over 80% of the median through funds that we get from the banks for something we call our Flex Fund. We use our revolving loan funds for that, and that works out just great. So again, we're here to speak in favor of the strategy, and we hope the council adopts it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. I'm going to go back to Elizabeth Mannion. Is she here? Elizabeth Mannion? Okay. Hillary Donahue.
Hey, I'm Hillary Donahue. I live at 408 Otisco Street in Syracuse. I'm a member of or Westside TNT facilitator, an architect that works in the city, and I was a participant in the Housing Strategy Committee. The city of Syracuse needs a stronger tax base to be able to provide services. Property values need to increase. If houses are worth less than it costs to build or maintain them, people will not build or maintain them, and that's kind of where we are today. We've been focused on subsidizing projects which only reinforce and further concentrate poverty in worse-off neighborhoods, and we've spent less time focused on raising standards and property values in neighborhoods that are currently doing okay. The Housing Study and Strategy acknowledges that this old way of doing business is not the way forward for the city. And just one quote that I think summarizes everything pretty well from the strategy report. Any community development work receiving any form of support from the city of Syracuse, financial or otherwise, should be deliberate about contributing to the deconcentration of poverty, growing the confidence of homeowners to reinvest in their homes, and strengthening the city's fiscal position. I am for adopting the housing strategy report.
Thank you, Hillary. John Radke.
Anyone have any written reports?
If anybody has anything written they want to submit to the clerk, you can bring them up.
Don Radke, I live in Scott Home Boulevard in the city of Syracuse, and I was also on the Housing Strategy Committee, and I'm here to urge the Common Council to adopt this policy. I'm not going to repeat what Carrie and Hillary said. I think they said it very well, but this is a holistic problem. This isn't just housing. We're going to have to deal with transportation. We're going to have to deal with health, and it's all going to be part of this decision-making. So I think that what we have to do as citizens and as leaders in the community is to keep our eye on the ball. I think there's also something that was alluded to that's very, very important. We all know the city of Syracuse has a large structural economic deficit. If we don't close that deficit, the city's not going to be able to pay its bills. This program helps close that gap. So for the reasons stated earlier, as well as these additional reasons, I strongly urge the Common Council to adopt the strategy policy as it sits. Thank you.
Okay, the next one, I have Mr. Mohammed. Genghis Khalid Mohammed.
It is coming up.
Oh,
guess
okay. Well, where is it?
Good evening, folks. We'd like to submit this to you. If you will allow me, I just want to make two quotes that I think are very significant.
Make sure, Mr. Mohammed, make sure you're talking to the mic,
Yes,
okay?
if you allow me, I want to make two quotes, which I think is significant. And just want you to know that my fundamental focus is housing, homelessness, and starvation. But this is a quote from Pope Benedict XVI. To ensure a more just distribution of the world's resources, God intended for the world resources to be available equally to all. So I piggybacked on it, and I state this: when the powers that be prevent the people from living off the land and providing for themselves as it was intended, then the powers that be are obligated to provide the provisions for the people equitably. So once again, I repeat, housing, homelessness, starvation. Housing is a human right. Homelessness is a crime against humanity. Starvation of a people is inhumane. So that's what I want to say. And I'm also want to just say on behalf of the Syracuse Tenants Union that I want to put that voice in so that they can get the recognition for the people that come up and speak in this behalf. And just one more thing before I leave out. I just want to give a shout out to Sonia Massey, who was murdered by a racist police. Okay? So say her name, Sonia Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Jocelyn Richards.
Hi, my name is Jocelyn Richards. I'm speaking today as a member of Syracuse Tenants Union. I read through the 70-page proposal, and what struck me is the strategy itself highlights many important objectives that the city needs to pursue in distressed neighborhoods. These include ridding the market of slumlords, lead abatement, aggressive code enforcement, and hedging against rising prices that could cause displacement. And these are all directly quoted from the strategy. I want to point out that the strategy does not give a clear policy plan to achieve these objectives. However, the Syracuse Tenants Union has a detailed 3-part platform that would accomplish these objectives. For example, we agree that putting slumlords out of business and lead abatement are great objectives. These are mentioned in the strategy. But we don't just say that. We have a specific plan to make it happen through amending the rental registry. We have repeatedly tried to bring our platform before the council for discussion and vote, and we have not succeeded in doing so. We've struggled to have meetings with the councilors. So I just want to say, consultants, when they come to Syracuse, they see the same distressed neighborhoods that we see when we go door to door talking with tenants. The difference is we are speaking with people directly, with your constituents, and we are learning their needs. We are seeing how current policies are being implemented and how they could be improved. So yes, we definitely need to invest money in repairing homes in Syracuse, but we also need to make sure we are addressing the concerns of tenants in our most distressed neighborhoods as soon as possible, because the housing crisis that's going on is impacting tenants' lives right now, and they can't afford to wait 10 years, 15 years or more, in most cases for the city, for revitalization to happen. We need to simultaneously be pursuing policies that address the housing crisis from other angles. And this is exactly what Syracuse Tenants Union's platform aims to do. We're genuinely trying to work with the city to address tenant concerns and the housing crisis. And specifically, we're calling on the city to opt into good cause eviction, to keep rents under control, and to protect tenants from retaliatory evictions when they call code enforcement for repairs to be made. We want to see this on the Common Council's agenda in August and voted on as soon as possible. We also have our rental registry proposal, which would, again, address the issues of slumlords, pursue lead abatement, and aggressive code enforcement, all of which are mentioned in the strategy itself. And for the point of hedging against rising prices that could cause displacement, that's the third part of our platform, which suggests conducting a vacancy study so we can opt into rent stabilization in Syracuse. Because as we work to invest in properties, we have to be sure we're not going down the path of gentrification. So I urge the council to consider our platform seriously because it is in fact detailed in the strategy that we need to pursue these objectives. So thank you.
Thank you, Jocelyn. You want to submit that? Huh? Jocelyn, do you want to submit that, what you have there in your hand?
Speak a bit more.
No, I said, do you want to submit, you have anything to submit to us?
Oh, I don't right now, but yeah,
Well,
I
we're
think.
available anytime. You can get a hold of us.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I have Sophia Swan.
Hello, everyone. I'm here because of the conditions of the housing and the landlords that is skiking up their rent and don't want to do anything to their property. I have 2 daughters that's roommating because the rent is so high, but they have problems with their apartment, roaches, mice. They shouldn't have to deal with that. Syracuse used to be a beautiful place to stay. I've been born and raised here. It doesn't make any sense that the health department, city codes is doing their job, but nobody's making the landlords do their job. If somebody is paying their rent on time, they don't deserve to live like that. So that's what I need to say. Thank you for your time.
Yvonne Griffin? Yvonne Griffin? Okay.
My name is Yvonne Griffin.
Why don't you put the mic down a little bit? There you go.
Sorry, I just came back from a Medicare, Medicaid rally that we just did. So my name is Yvonne Griffin. I'm a citizen action of New York. A few of you common counselors know who I am. I called you guys' office. I also emailed you guys' office. It told you that Citizen Action is actually backing up STU's demand about opting into good cause. And considering the fact that it passed the state level, I don't see what the issue is. We are definitely inside a housing crisis. You guys say that there's money here to help people when they lose their housing, and that's not even accurate. I lived on the west side, and my house was lead contaminated, and the city got $215,000 from one of my landlords, and they just took my other landlord, Todd Hobbs, to court. So you guys got money, and for 10 months, again, 10 months, I went homeless. Me, because of lead, of a house that was already up and being investigated, and every one of y'all knew that. Every county legislator knew that, and every state lawmaker knew that. That's why everything was referred to Leticia James. So I'm confused at how I could go homeless for 10 months. Everything in my storage unit that I accumulated living inside this lead-infected house that everybody knew about is gone. And then after I sent a certain email to everybody on May 7th at 7:29 in the morning, I got into housing after being on the wait list for 8 years. I had 2 houses condemned for lead and a house fire. How is that not enough preferences to get inside subsidized housing? And now since I live in it, come here, Kanisha. That's my 17-year-old daughter. That's my grandson. Subsidized housing told me that I can't even have my grandson living with me because there's no 4 bedrooms available inside Syracuse housing and a lot of the Christopher community housing and housing visions. So you guys are separating my 17-year-old daughter from her son. And like, how is that possible? Seriously. Like, I don't understand this. At the Medicaid rally, this is Quincy. Quincy, stand up. This is my best friend's son. My best friend was given Section 8 2 years ago. But because of Syracuse housing crisis, there's no affordable 5 to 6 bedrooms in the city of Syracuse that would be inside the rent allowance for HUD. So we need that rent stabilization as also. So now you're living with your grandfather, right? After your mom sat there, worked so hard to get out of your grandfather's house, had her own apartment for 6 years, the rent went up, and now you living with grandpa, right? Isaiah, you stand up. Both of their mothers are sisters. His mom was walking in April. Eddie did an interview. How does someone, hold on. How does someone, okay, but let me just say this. The housing situation is so important that Amy was walking like I am. And now his mother, because her house was condemned, she didn't have nowhere to go. His mom literally had a stroke. She's paralyzed. How is that possible within 2 months?
Yvonne, we have other
That's
speakers.
good cause,
I appreciate
for
you sharing your opinion. George Lynch.
Good evening. My name is George Lynch. My address is 484 South Salina Street. And my question is, I'm in support of the strategy. I just hope going forward we can, and the strategists can consider more community engagement in regards to the process as we build this strategy. And I say that because, in my opinion personally, you can't fix a problem that you're not connected to. And obviously we have expert strategists who come in and are consultants for the study, but they don't live here, so they don't understand the actual things taking place. Being around politics in my various ways, we see politicians get people to door knock for them, and I think the housing strategy should consist of some type of actual door knocking, speaking to the people who are actually going to be affected by these strategies that are put in place. I think the strategy is great. I think it highlights some key things that needs to be addressed, but I feel like it needs a little bit more of a bottom-up approach instead of a top-down approach. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Alexander Marion. Nice to see you on this floor, Mr. Marion.
It's good to be here. It's good to be here. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alexander Marion. I'm the Syracuse City Auditor. I'm pleased to be here tonight to offer my thoughts and support for the Syracuse housing strategy. For decades, the way we've done business in Syracuse and in urban communities across the United States hasn't succeeded. Too many people are rent burdened. Too many neighborhoods have experienced disinvestment. And it is time we do something different. The housing strategy begins that work. It is a down payment on the future. I've watched this process, and I'd like to commend the administration for their efforts, especially Michelle Zapansky, who I see at pretty much every community meeting I attend. Investing in neighborhoods that need it to raise them up, as well as prevent further deterioration, is a smart, bold strategy. New tools combined with new capital will make a transformational change. I'm pleased to see efforts beginning on Tip Hill on the far west side, as well as Salt Springs. Tip Hill, I have a deep personal connection to the far west side as well, and Salt Spring I have great affinity towards. But this is a long-term vision that will make a difference in years to come. But Syracuse needs immediate solutions, and I would like to use this moment to make the case for good cause eviction protections for Syracuse tenants. Good cause eviction provides an immediate solution to keep tenants in their homes. It caps rent increases so rent-burdened tenants can have more predictable finances. It's important to say what good cause is not. It does not prohibit eviction. Landlords could still evict tenants for non-payment, lease violations, violations of the law, or failing to provide access to the unit for maintenance. It also allows for reasonable rent increases, currently pegged around 8.5%. Additionally, the good cause eviction law that New York State passed earlier this year provides a 30-year exemption, retroactive to 2009, for new construction projects so that there is no disincentive to build more of the housing that we so desperately need here in Syracuse. I'm not alone. Good cause eviction enjoys the support of the Syracuse Tenants Union, Housing Justice for All, the Greater Syracuse Labor Council, SEIU Local 200, and the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. And most importantly, I am proud to say I stand with Syracuse's tenants, the hardworking, the rent-burdened, the families just trying to make it along, and people who are ready to make a change in their community. As we proceed with the housing strategy, let's make sure that protecting the rights of tenants is at the forefront of housing in our community. Thank you, councilors.
Stewart.
Good evening, everybody. I'm James Stewart. I live on North Side right here by St. Joe's. I didn't drive down, which is a minor problem for stashing my pocket knife. But anyway, I'm exceedingly pleased that we have rezoned the city of Syracuse. And one thing that would be helpful if we could pull it off, is MX5, the vast majority of the city, give property owners the ability to build more housing. And it's frustrating that in a lot of neighborhoods, you can't send your kid out for a gallon of milk. You've got to drive to a lot of places. I'm fortunate to have joints down the street where I can send my daughter to get milk, but a lot of people don't have that, and mixed-use developments offer that opportunity. All right, everybody, have a good night.
Thanks, James. Okay, is Elizabeth Mannion, rather. No? Okay. Mo Brown.
Councilors,
First-term county
colleagues. My name is Maurice Brown. I'm a county legislator here representing parts of the city of Syracuse. I also want to say I am a part of the steering committee for the Syracuse Housing Strategy, so I'm going to offer my support. But I want to start by saying we have to chew gum and walk. We have to chew gum and walk. We can't just do this. This is not a silver bullet. I want to talk about some of the benefits of this plan. I think that, as the city of Syracuse, we are within a greater picture, which is the region, Central New York, and the city of Syracuse needs to be able to stand on its own legs in that housing conversation, and this is going to help us to do that. But this isn't enough. We have to chew gum and walk. We have to pass good cause eviction. We have to focus on affordable housing. This strategy doesn't talk about some of the work that's going on outside of this project, whether it's housing visions, whether it's the land bank, whether it's home headquarters. We have to still support that work and still expand on that work. But we have to do this as well. This is a great Herculean task. We're in a unique moment in history as Syracusans, and we can't let this moment devour us. There are people hoping to come in, hoping to build houses and hoping to not house us, hoping to not, put us in the nice houses up in Clay. So we have to be able to fight our own battles, protect the people that are here right now, pass good cause. We have to expand affordable housing. We need more quality housing options for this area. And we also need to move forward with the Syracuse housing strategy. Thank you.
Mark Spadafora.
And it's Spadafore, not Spadafore. Those cousins. It was
I
a
stand
fight.
corrected.
It was a fight a long time ago with my grandfather or my uncle.
I'm sorry.
And they're long gone. So, anyway, thank you. I'd like to thank the councilors for this opportunity to speak. I am here in my capacity as president of the Greater Syracuse Labor Council, representing over 35,000 union members in this area. And the reason I'm here today, you're like, what is a union person doing here talking about housing? It's because housing has a central effect on the quality of life of working people throughout the area. Now, coming out of the pandemic, we have been negotiating across many unions, all across many industries, record raises in our contract. But what good does that do if all of that money is going into a landlord's pocket? Workers are not getting ahead at that point. And the reality is, and look, I'm 54 years old. I've lived in this community my whole life. I never thought we would get into this position. I mean, we would look at people in other cities, housing's a problem. Housing, no, it's not a problem here. It is now. We have two issues. We have the supply issue, and that's something that we need to do as a whole community to deal with the supply issue. But the other issue is regulation. So right now, that's why I am here to speak in favor of good cause regulations that the New York State is providing. The cities of Albany, Poughkeepsie, Ithaca, and now coming online will be Rochester, probably by the end of next month. They have passed this. It's time for Syracuse to do the same thing because we only have one shot at this. We have one opportunity amongst a lifetime of opportunities to really get this right, to give justice to those who work hard every day, and then come home and want to just have a decent place to live. Because in my opinion, and I think it should be not an opinion, I think it should be a fact, housing is a human right, and housing is a human right. And the thing is, we need to make sure that we are protecting those that are the most vulnerable. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody who hasn't shared, wants to speak on this proposal? Who hasn't already shared? Okay, hearing none, I declare this public hearing closed and legislation be considered during the next regular order business.